Hey friends, let's be honest, most of us producers have hundreds of unused loops that we never touch, but those loops you're discarding might be actually worth more than any new sample pack. So stop before you buy another sample pack and watch what happens when we flip those old loops into something completely new. Here's what most producers do. They go shopping for new loops when they're looking for fresh ideas and inspiration, or they hear a loop and think, this could be amazing, but they don't know how to transform it. Today, I want to change how you think about your loop collection. I'll show you how, with a bit of creativity and a little help from Ableton Live, you can transform them into something fresh. We'll go through this step-by-step workflow together, and by the end you'll see how the same loop becomes completely, or loops in this case, become completely unrecognizable and way more inspiring. So without further ado, let's dive in and take a look at what we're doing today. So for context here, we've just got a couple of simple drum loops that we're going to use just to vibe out our new loop idea alongside. I'm going to do two examples here. I'm going to do one where I take some top loops that are kicking around in a sample folder that I'm not using and transform them into a new loop. And then I'm going to do one with some melodic loops. So you've got a couple of different ideas here, but like most of the things I show on the channel here, with a bit of inspiration and creativity, there's lots of other options here and things you can try with this very same technique. So what do we need to do? Well, let's go up here to the house drum loop that we've got here, and let's set up a brand new empty audio track below it. And the very first thing, actually, I might point out here as well, we're working in audio today, loops and audio material, no MIDI involved. And on that new audio track, we're going to right click and you'll see down on this menu here, show take lanes and insert take lanes. So we're going to have an inserted take lane, and then we're going to duplicate that simply down as many times as we need. Let's do, say, 5 for today. That could be any number you wish of take lanes, right? And the next thing we're going to do then is pop over, in this case, it's going to be the top loop example. We're going to build a new top loop, and I'm just going to, from this folder of a bunch of loops here, just randomly click, listen, and pick ones to add to those take lanes. Okay, let's drop that one in. Pretty random selection. But of course, if you want to pay more attention, you can, if you're looking for something special or specific. All right, so we've got a bunch of loops in there and all of our take lanes. Let's bring our loop length over to just 2 bars for a moment. And I probably tend to do this 1 bar at a time. You don't need to bite off too much to start with. This could end up being a 2 bar, 4 bar, 8 bar, whatever you wish, but you don't need to, as I said, go crazy to start with. So if we look at these top loops now and we zoom in a little bit, let's have a look at the grid size in the background. We've got 1/32 notes, which is going to allow us some really small kind of little slices. If you want to change that, of course, you can always change your grid size in the background to go smaller or triplets or all sorts of fun stuff. I'm going to make it 16th notes, so we're going to slice it up by 16ths, and let's select all our take lanes, shift, select them all so we can kind of see them a little bit bigger. And let's get started here. So all we need to do is turn on our pencil tool and we can just draw and choose any little slithers or parts of these loops that we wish to add to our primary take lane at the top here, which is where we're sort of going to stitch all these pieces that we choose together. So let's hit play, and now we'll be able to hear in context our new selection with this loop. If there's anything we don't want, we can click and remove it. Quite like that. So there we go. And by the way, the goal here was to make a sort of like minimal house, a little bit, you know, minimal kind of house top loop out of these different percussion loops here. So I'm kind of vibing already on what we've got there. Now, if we were to zoom in, as I said, the smaller the grid is in the background, the smaller the slices are that you can take, right? And every time you make a slice, every single slice that's up here in our main lane that we're listening back to, you can click into those slices and you can access all of the envelope properties over here, which means we can reverse things, pitch it down, use the transients, use the different algorithms. So lots of fun stuff there. Back up actually on the track itself, we can also do things such as maybe we want this little slice here and we want to duplicate it. So I'm going to build some pretty interesting loops here by using some of those techniques as well. But I just wanted to point out that, yeah, there's a lot, again, of depth here that you can use. And of course, also every single slice that you have up here can be faded if there's any pops and clicks, or changed or cross-faded between one to the other. So lots and lots of great things about this workflow that mean, as I said, we can continue to develop it, and really there's no, you know, the sky's the limit here. So let's try and do a 2-bar one. Get our pencil tool on again. Okay, so something pretty cool going there. So if I was to now continue to develop this a little bit, so let's actually, what we can do is copy all of this over, and then I can sort of show you what I'm sort of speaking about over in this second loop. So we'll leave that one as it is, and then we'll come over to this one and we'll apply a few of those little things I just spoke about. So in the sense that we can do some pretty cool stuff here. So let's maybe take this sample here, which is like a kick or something, and let's reverse it. So we'll flip that around. So in this section here, it's going to go backwards. Okay, this little sort of ride or cymbal or something like that down the end here, what we could do with that, or we could try to do with that, is pop in, turn on the beat preserve transients, but let's say we do 16ths and we turn on the little forward arrow here and we bring down a little bit of that. Should make it stutter a little bit. But I've got an even better idea for that particular loop, or little slice, should we say. Let's put it actually back to how it was, and let's do something else. So in this one, let's go into the envelopes here. Let's go into the transposition, and let's actually pitch this little final slide down in a ramp. So it goes down, sort of like pitches down. So let's listen to what that sounds like. Let's go further so it's more obvious. Nice. Other fun stuff we could do, you could grab something here and you can hold down shift on your keyboard and you can stretch that so it's double the length. I think I need to find a little bit better example. I mean, this one will work, but it's going to stretch across to, you know, from one beat into the next, but just so you can hear that. Okay, so maybe in the melodic one we'll get a good example where we can really put that stretch into action. Over here I kind of hear something. I think it's this. Okay, so I quite like what goes on in this clip here. So I'm going to zoom right in here and I'm going to give myself a little feel of this. So let's copy it a few times. Stretch it out and maybe pull that right out across there. So as you can see, it's very easy to manipulate all of this as well with lots of fun stuff. And I'm just doing the tip of the iceberg here. Nice. And maybe on this one here, let's go pitch down, and we can just go straight into that slice, pitch it down over here. So that's a quick example there of a minimal house loop that's been made and recycled from a bunch of loops that are sitting in a folder that I'm not giving it any love or any attention, but straight away with a little bit of imagination and this amazing kind of workflow that Ableton gives us, where we can just drag in audio into take lanes, we can build our own loops. And so if we loop this back out, we've now got sort of section A and section B. And what we could do is we could consolidate all of that as one loop, or we could do them 2 loops at a time. So let's say maybe in the future we want just this section as its own little clip. So Command J, and that's just stitched all that nicely together. And then over here, Command J, and now we've got 2 different loops that we could use at a further point, you know, in our track or something like that, with some development. Or like I said, it could also have been made into one whole loop that just was exactly like it is. So hopefully that gets your inspiration going. Let's now try exactly the same workflow, but we'll use some melodic loops that are again collecting dust in the folder. So what we can do here is just collapse that track up, turn it off, and let's change over to a different drum beat just for context. And now I'm going to do the very same thing. I'm going to add an audio track below. I'm going to add a take lane from the menu here, just right clicking to bring that up. And then, sorry, show take lanes won't do anything until you have a lane. And then down we go with, again, sort of 4 or 5 things, take lanes where we can add some audio. Now, with melodic loops, of course, once we start doing that, we might need to think a little bit about music theory, and then again we could throw it out the window and use our ears just to decide whether something works or not. So I'm going to try and stick to minor keys here. So I'm sort of first of all trying to fit minor with minor. That makes my life a little bit easier, but I'm not going to do much other than that and just use my ears to decide whether these different melodic loops work together. But do think a little bit about that key and scale if you wish it to go with something existing, or as I said, you're after a particular key or a tone. Here we're very free because we don't have anything already, and we can just use our ears and say, hey, that's a cool result. But like I said, you could do more planning and only drag in samples that are A minor or something like that, and then you would know that all those things would stay in a certain key. So listening to these first. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, let's have something like that. That could be really cool. All right, what else we got in here? Also, kind of nice. Okay, so there's a bunch of loops there, right? So now we've got some melodic material in this one that we can start doing exactly the same thing. We're going to go in, we're going to make a smaller loop to begin with. As I said, I think that makes life a little bit easier. Turn on our pencil tool, let it be on a Mac here, and we're going to pull out some little sections of this and make a nice little choppy melody to go with our breakbeat here. Boom, right there. So already that's working for me. I like it. It's good. So what I could do is, again, copy that over, like just duplicate it over into the next section over here. And then what we can do is kind of like, you know, and if that's actually, in the sense, that's not going to be the same as what's down in here. So I think I'm going to make my life a bit easier. Pop down into the take lanes. And for all of these, so again, we're going to work with less rather than more. We're going to bring it all to there. And then that way, literally, we can duplicate the same section of all of those across. So just a little bit of work there, simply because I don't think I need you know, even more of this particular loop here. I really like what's happened there. So I'm just going to copy that all across so it's matching. And now in this second section here, I'm going to do this similar to what we just did with the percussion loop. I'm going to start sort of playing around with some of those different parameters that I showed you. So stretch will work really nicely in here. So I'm going to hold shift and drag this clip out. So really fast in a short amount of time. Again, I'm getting, you know, a really nice vibe going on here, playing around with a few of the different properties inside the clip, pitching things, changing the algorithm, stretching them out. And as you can see, tip of the iceberg in the percussion loops, I also used, or the top loop, should I say, some of the envelopes. So all of these are possible here, and the list goes on. What about if we were to add an effect to this? Absolutely. So, you know, we could go over here and we could grab, you know, hybrid reverb and put that over this loop, and that could be part of the final loop. So sound design wise, great stuff. Like I said, I'm not going to go too much further there because that's not the purpose of today's video. But as always, once you get that creativity going and that flow going, you can see that with a little imagination and a little creativity, we've got lots of options. And similarly to what I did before, again, if we want, we can kind of like make this all one section, or it could be split into various little loops. Let's, in this case, make it all one. And again, I'm doing this quite fast for the purpose of the video, but you saw earlier on when I was looking at the percussion that we can also do volume fades, you know, and remove any pops and clicks and things like that. So if you notice anything like that, of course, tidy the loops up so that they sound exactly like you want them to. So now just to recap what we've got here. Let's try our minimal house percussion loop in the mix as well. Yeah, very, very cool. So on that note, I'm going to wrap things up. Again, hopefully now, having watched this, you'll think a lot more about not rushing out to buy sample packs and loads of loops and ignoring all those ones you might have built up, like me, over the years, collecting and getting folders and purchases you've made, and just turn them, reimagine them. This could be a great Kickstarter for a brand new project. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I do want to point out that in this video I've shown you the basics of one of many creative workflows, but you know, in my coaching sessions, I coach artists, producers, DJs, performers. We do dive a lot deeper into Ableton Live. We're just scratching the surface here, and sound design, and I tailor it to your specific situation. So if you're interested in that and accelerating your progress with some personalized guidance, you can book a free call using the link below in the video description. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you next time, everybody. Keep on creating, and ciao for now. Bye, everybody.